So, I mean, there's definitely variables, and I don't want to project unhappiness. That's not my... In the store. On the podcast, I don't care.
This goes out to the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Dal, I know how good you are at occasions and special dates and anything involving memory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So as we are recording this on July 31st, 2020...
It doesn't sound right, but go on.
Can you tell me what is so special about July 31st, 2009?
2009?
Yes.
Oh, man.
I'll give you a hint. What are we doing?
It was the first episode of Contest of Challengers?
11 years ago today.
Industry podcast?
Contest of Challengers, episode 1. Patrick talks to
we
Dal,
talk
talks
about
to
Amazing
Patrick.
Spider-Man.
Hit the airwaves.
Uh-huh.
Came into people's homes.
I guess Wi-Fi was a thing back then.
Via their streaming devices or what have you.
Yeah.
Was streaming a thing 11 years ago?
Not really.
We've been doing this for 11 years.
That's crazy.
I know, right? What's even crazier is this is episode 490.
Uh-huh.
Had we done it weekly, it would be episode like 570 something.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. But that does mean episode 500 is
a lot,
on the horizon.
Yeesh.
And we're 10 away from it.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. It is the first week of October. It was going to be second week of October, but then we had the extra Tom Kelly episode, so that...
And we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, tentatively.
Yeah.
Not carved in stone.
Nope.
You and I have already had tentative discussions as what we should do for it, and spoiler alert, we did not come to a consensus.
No.
And we don't even have ideas in contention.
No. Like, the discussion was, should we do something? Yes. What should we do?
I don't know.
Well, normally a show would do these roster of things. Okay, we've done those and they don't work. Okay, I don't know then.
Yeah, like, I'll say that I had said, what if we get, like, a big special guest star? And you said, well, then it's not our podcast.
Yeah.
Like, we don't... We rarely do interviews.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about that before, like the idea of, you know, for a special episode, let's bring in this, you know, semi-famous person. And it's like, so we would just talk to them about their comics history and their, like, experience with the industry. And, like, so how is that comics industry oriented? Like,
I mean, how is half of what we do comics industry
well,
oriented?
but at least, I mean, there's the general, like, there's a home base of trying to make it about comics retail, and we diverge from that a little bit, but, you know, an entire episode, especially like what would be like an anniversary episode, where it's just, hey, this is going to be of interest to people who don't normally listen to the podcast, and most of the people who normally listen to the podcast maybe won't care about this, doesn't seem like a great way to go for an anniversary. And then we talked about, like, oh, we could do, like, listener questions. We can always do listener questions. We rarely have them. You know, and all the other stuff just becomes, like, kind of non-feasible in 2020. We'll do a live episode. We definitely will not do a live episode. Like, all that sort of stuff is just, like, I don't know then. Like, the go-tos kind of don't work for what we do here. And the other stuff is just not right for the midst of a pandemic.
Maybe we'll get Tom McGovern to interview us again. Like we did for episode 100.
I think
it didn't start out that way, but it wound up being that way. And actually, it was a good episode because of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since we did that. I can't imagine it would necessarily be super interesting to people who have heard versions of all of these answers that people would ask us questions about when it comes to, like, the origins of challengers and our own history with the industry. But that was one thing I suggested was, you know, maybe getting somebody to essentially, like, interview us. But it's like... that becomes work for somebody else.
Right. And
again, I don't know if it's... I don't know what a plussed up version of what we do on this thing even looks or sounds like. Like, well, I genuinely don't know what would make this bigger and better.
I will say that I think the exact definition of that is episode 500. Mm-hmm. We do a normal episode in tuxedos.
Yeah, I'll think about it. What if we just quit at $4.99?
I mean,
Problem solves itself, dude.
look, it's a long way to October, okay? Anything can happen. It's a long way just to get to this episode. I am extremely late because as I was setting the alarm at the store tonight, there's a knock at the door, and who should it be? Who should it be?
Oh, I have no... Santa Claus. I have no idea.
It's like Santa Claus. FedEx with this week's lunar shipment.
Federal Express. That's pretty cool. We said something to work on tomorrow, I guess.
Oh no, it's done. That's why I'm so late.
Why?
Because I have so much to do tomorrow
Oh, you're already booked?
that I had left, like I literally had to clear off the counters to do this lunar thing right now. Because there was a system set up and in place that could just carry over for tomorrow. And this would just get in the way. Get in the way. Would get in the way.
It's a very projects sort of week. I've been working on...
No, it's a project sort of... Ever since the pandemic,
Always.
it's nothing but projects. And literally, half of it's because of the pandemic, half of it is because we lost Blue, and half of it is normal stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, that's three halves, but that's how busy we are.
That's how many
with
projects.
stuff.
1.5 times as many projects as normal.
But you were saying you're extra busy with projects.
Oh, yeah. So the all the inventory stuff we've been doing for the Shopify store finally finalized. And as a result, there's a bunch of housekeeping sort of stuff I have to do. Like, basically, there's a lot of titles for graphic novels that have coding that's necessary for our internal database that is not necessary for a consumer-facing database. So I kind of have to go through and scrub all that stuff by hand.
I mean, I've always hated
Caution codes? Why do they put caution codes in the title page?
Diamond puts caution codes in titles, caution saying like, hey, this is going to be late, or it might be in a different market before you get it, or you may be allocated.
Ever on the internet, and you're searching for a comic book thing, and some store's website has a title, and then after it is, in parentheses, C:number hyphen number hyphen number, end parentheses. Those are caution codes. Each of those 3 digits corresponds to a different thing that Diamond is cautioning retailers about, whether that's availability of products based on territory or the possibility of a product being released in another, through another distributor before Diamond. There's some other stuff. I can't remember what they all correspond to. And that's one of the
I challenge any retailer to know what all the caution codes are off the top of their head.
And that's one of the
things someone can.
That makes the caution codes so ridiculous is that it would be helpful if just looking at them you'd be like, oh, I know what that means. Instead, it's like, I genuinely could not tell the difference between 111 and 101 and 011. Like, I don't... Sure, okay, I could go look them up, but at that point I'm looking them up, so why do they need to be in the title? It's a lot of stuff that probably means more to people who are operating outside of North America. Specifically, caution codes usually refer to a product that is maybe licensed to one territory that Diamond can release to, but not licensed to another territory, i.e. There are certain things like Turtles comics or whatever where IDW has the rights maybe in the US, but maybe not in Europe. So if you're a European retailer ordering through Diamond, you can't order IDW Transformers or Turtles books or whatever licensed property that IDW has because they're not licensed to sell them in your territory. Same thing with a lot of manga and stuff, where like a company like Viz or Kodansha or whatever will license a specific printing to be in the US, but maybe they would have a completely different version or graphic novel or cover or whatever come out in another territory. But we're in the US, so caution codes don't usually mean a lot to us.
Also, discount codes. I mean, those mean a lot to people, but I wonder how many people know all the discount codes.
There's occasionally ones I have to look up because I'll see like a U or something in the discount code and I'll have to go...
The deeper you get in the alphabet for a code, the harder it is for me to remember.
Yeah, and that's pretty easy. And then, you've got your basic discount levels and structures, and then you've got ones where it's like, oh, it's 35% or some other number based on... It's like, okay, forget it.
We got an item in today, and I will not say what the item is, that we didn't realize we were getting. So we didn't have a retail price for it in the system. Mm-hmm. We've gotten it as a special order for an employee, so that's a different situation. Uh-huh. So it had a set a retail price for it, and the discount that they had us, like, based off of their SRP versus what we paid, was 27%.
Yeah, in
That's
general...
not even a set discount level.
No. In general, for toys, our discount through Diamond is pretty terrible.
You say through Diamond. I'm going to say it's through everybody.
I think it's worse through Diamond.
Yes.
Because Diamond will usually say, here's what the MSRP is for this thing, and then our cost will be so much higher than everyone else we could get that through, assuming it's not a previous exclusive item, that it's just like, you got to raise the MSRP, because I can't sell it at the price that you're suggesting I retail price it at.
Well, one of the things that works in our favor is the shipping from Southern Hobby is very low.
Uh-huh.
So while pop vinyls are more expensive from Diamond,
yeah,
we're getting a break in shipping from Southern Hobby, so it balances out.
Yeah.
And I feel like Southern Hobby gets pop vinyls mostly faster. And they mostly get
maybe
Hasbro figures faster, but not
always.
Also, we had a very small but random charge on our account today from Southern Hobby, and this is a week where we did not get any products. I think I know what it is, but I didn't have time to follow up on it.
Okay.
Just the number of add-on tasks, which are always a thing, but I feel like there's more than ever before. When like you have, and I feel like I've complained about this recently, but when you have these big things you need to get done, and then you come in and can't sign up a new club member. They want every Empire book.
Right.
They want these special orders. Like, all right, well that slows you down.
Yeah.
And then you have to put them in the system, and then go through the special orders for the Empire books, and then make their divider, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's great someone wants to sign up.
Sure.
But also, we need to impress upon him that he needs to look over everyone's list, because when someone writes Wolverine variants, Spider-Woman variants, I don't know what that means.
Right. And also, no.
Yeah. I mean, yes to the no, not yes.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's not...
We don't take special orders where it's like, whatever variants come out for these Marvel books, because every single time we've done that, we get burned, because then it's like, but not this variant. Well, now I can't sell that cover because no one else is going to want it, and I ordered it specifically for you. So with variants, unless it's like the Virgin variants for DC, where there is a variant cover every month for this book, or it's a limited series where it's like, okay, these are the themed covers they're doing, like if someone wants the Michael Cho variants for Empire. But when you're just like, for an ongoing series at Marvel, I want variants. Okay, well, that could be anywhere between 1 and 7 variants, depending on the month, and a bunch of them could be things not even related to Wolverine.
Yeah.
Depending on what Marvel feels like doing that month.
Nobody
anywhere on the planet wants every cover all the time. They don't. They don't all work together. They're not one design.
We're getting further away from what we were talking about, but since we're talking about Marvel...
Episode 500.
Marvel variant covers, you and I have been talking about the Alex Ross timeless variants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you see what they just offered yesterday?
No, what was it?
Every Alex Ross timeless variant now has an open order Alex Ross timeless Virgin sketch variant.
Open order, though, huh?
Yeah.
Not going to order that, but still.
They were on FOCs.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, new to orders.
Okay.
Every single one of them.
Huh, I went to new to order. I don't remember seeing those.
Well, that's because they were just the no image.
Oh, I mean, I don't remember seeing that many items, but okay, I'll go back and look.
Did you go yesterday?
I thought I did.
We didn't work yesterday.
I check every day.
Okay.
I had to add something for a subscriber who had asked for something 2 days before Diamond offered it. And then it was a new to order, so I went, okay, 1.
Ah, wow. Yeah, it was 60 items on the list yesterday.
I don't remember
No
those.
covers for any of them, because we can't see them, but as if if the regular ones weren't enough.
How could they not have cover images? Because they have cover images for the fully painted versions. You have to have the sketch before you have the fully painted versions.
Do you?
You have to. That's
what
how
if he's
it works.
going backwards?
How could he do that?
He's Alex Ross. He can do it.
What, is he scrubbing paint off of the board or something?
No, I'm just saying you can do a sketch based off of the cover after the fact. Who will know? Who will know?
I mean, I think they should advertise it that way. Based on the Alex Ross paintings.
Could be. Maybe it's just the thumbnails.
Seems doubtful, but could be.
Yeah. So, I mean, I also thought, like, I don't want to have to carry those.
Oh, no. I mean...
It's absurd, and it's
what I'm
clearly
gonna do...
a cash grab.
Oh, from Marvel? there's one guy who specifically said he doesn't normally subscribe to these Marvel books, but he's an Alex Ross guy. He wants the Alex Ross covers.
Oh, so he may want those.
So I'll email him to go, look, you're already getting like 40-something Alex Ross comic books over the next like 3 months. Do you want 40-something more because it's a sketch variant? Like, he might want them. I don't know.
He might.
So I'll ask. But yeah, everybody else is basically like, you're going to have to order them by hand. I am not just tacking them onto people's orders. And I'm not carrying them for the rack, no. I mean, it's difficult enough to justify carrying all of the Alex Ross timeless variants to begin with.
But it's Ghost Rider.
The sketch ones, it's just too far. It's just too many covers. Like, we got bit in the ass pretty hard on the Immortal variants.
And that was my idea. I mean, not my idea for Marvel to do the covers.
No.
But I thought people would care because it's a wraparound cover for the same price.
And they mostly didn't. The ones we got hit on the hardest were Fantastic Four because there were like 5 of them.
Yeah.
That's what worries me about getting like not just an extra cover for like, 40% of Marvel comics for the month, but 2 extra covers. That's when I think it becomes like, oh, I was going to get them all, and now that I know that all means 80 instead of 40, I'm not going to get any. So I'd rather just get the 40, and then people can get like 1 or 2 a week instead of having to worry about like, oh, I would need to get 6 this week, and I don't want to do that. Like, I think there's a threshold, at least that I've seen, where the amount of covers kind of exceeds people's tolerance for variant covers, and then they just opt out entirely.
I feel that's a statement that could be blanketed to not just covers, but for, let's say, miniseries tie-ins, but I'm being proven wrong right now.
Yeah, it's true.
You had said something about customer emails before. I had an instance where there was a customer who was so adamant that they get next week's hot new book that they emailed us twice about it in a row in 2 separate emails. And so when I responded and said, you already asked for this, is this your way of saying you want 2 of them? Never heard back.
Yep.
Like, you were so excited you emailed us twice, but you can't answer one back.
8 minutes apart.
Yeah.
I'm sorry we did not get to your email and add it
Also,
to your subscription in under 10 minutes.
They
I'm sorry.
cut and pasted it from somewhere else, but the same somewhere else. Because the text in the email was, how when you cut and paste something, it's a different font, a different size.
Some collector website, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make sure you have this book next week. It's going to be huge.
Speaking of that, I had somebody coming in and looking around. They come up with their phone. Like, do you have the new... And they said what the title was, but it's like Captain Griffith. I'm like,
what is this?
No, I don't know that I've ever heard of that. And he shows me the picture, and it's Captain Griffith, and it's Captain Griffith standing on a pile of bodies or something. I'm like, I've never heard of that before. I don't know what that is. Oh, it's a super limited, rare, self-published book by a local artist who blah blah blah. Then how would we have it?
Why would we have it then?
But I mean, we do have stuff like that.
I know, but just the assumption of like, oh, they're a local artist. I just assume you had it here.
Yeah.
Like, did they tell us about it?
Somebody else called and said, and it actually worked in my favor, the way I phrased it. They're like, yeah, do you know Stu Griffith? Wait, hold on. Do you know Griff Garrison? And I said, as a comic creator or as a human being? Oh, well, so I knew him back in the whatever decade, and I bought all this stuff. Basically, they were trying to sell a collection.
Okay.
I did not know who this person was. I didn't even know that they were a comic creator. I took a stab in the dark, and they were. So I got to be knowledgeable about a creator, a very obscure creator, and also a little bit, not standoffish, a little bit, like, how do you mean? Not belligerent, but still
superior.
No, just I don't know what the word is.
Indignant.
I said I didn't think it was indignant. Oh no, I said belligerent. Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I didn't say it
hoity?
like it. Okay, I'll take hoity. Semantic. Do you know Jim Steranko? Do I know of Jim Steranko or do I know Jim Steranko? Mm-hmm. The answer is yes to both of them. That's hoity.
It is a little bit.
Yeah. Also, I did interact with Jim Steranko in a after-hours roundtable at a Detroit show in Novi. I said Detroit in Novi. Novi. It's obviously not Detroit, but that's where the show is held. But I didn't belong there. I didn't really do anything. So you're talking about having to edit all those titles down to get rid of them caution codes.
Yeah.
Was that pretty much the end of it?
I mean, I've been working on it. Like, I didn't...
Like,
I didn't go into the
isn't
store
it
yesterday or
tens
today.
Of thousands of things.
And I've been working on it for the last 2 days. Yes and no. Currently what's on our Shopify storefront for graphic novels is everything that we currently have in stock. So anything that we are out of stock on or don't carry anymore, that has not been pushed to the Shopify storefront, which means I don't have to edit those titles. It's only stuff that's on Shopify. And there's thousands of items for sure. And I'm working my way through it. What's done? Horror's done. Crime mystery's done. Drama's done. Sci-fi fantasy's done. Humor's done. I'm like 80% done with manga.
Are you editing them in Comic Suite and then at Retro?
No, I'm just doing it through Shopify.
Okay.
Because it doesn't... Once they get posted to Shopify, the title kind of becomes independent of the SKU. So changing the title in RMS wouldn't change it in Shopify and vice versa. And it's honestly easier to do bulk title changes in Shopify than it is in RMS.
So moving
much
forward,
easier.
as a new title is introduced into the system, can you edit it through RMS and then have it...
I can, but I probably won't.
Okay.
Because it's just easier to, when that stuff gets pushed to Shopify, I can sort stuff by like newest created item and then just flag anything that needs to get its title altered and then go into the editing field and just do them all at once.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's annoying.
It is, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, it's busy work, but I mean, we were just talking about the fact of how many busy work things we have to do constantly all the time. Not just special projects, but just someone's a subscriber. Okay, here's 4 things I have to do now because of that. So this is just one more thing that I'll have to do on like a regular basis.
It's great that people want to subscribe from us and they want books, but I just miss the days of people saying, here's the books I want, and us saying, all right, we put them in the system. But now there's multiple distributors and special orders, and this is not...
Yeah.
Is this a one-shot? Is this an ongoing title?
And some of it is also...
What issues of Captain Marvel's part of Empire? I don't remember. Up to 21 or 22?
Some of it is
Which
also
one is it?
the velocity at which these things come out. Like, one of the problems we're having with the Empire stuff is we had people on week 1 of Empire say, add me for everything Empire. Okay, cool. This thing is coming out not over 3 months like it was originally going to, but over like 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And that means that for the first third to half of Empire, we already locked our orders in. So anything we're ordering now, we're hoping there's still copies in Diamond's distribution chain that we can get them. And even then, it might take an extra couple weeks before we get them. And even then, we might not know until they actually show up on the invoice a couple weeks later. There's Captain Marvel. We have like 3 or 4 people that had asked for it before the book came out. They're on like the second wave of getting the book if we get a second wave of copies.
Yeah.
Which is not guaranteed. They're not on next week's invoice, and I don't know if they're going to fill.
And there's even a third wave of people.
Well, we had done a bulk order for the second wave that should cover anybody else who's asking for it, but it's still a thing of like, I don't know. Like, we got lucky with some of the stuff that was coming in this week where I think we should have gotten in today some stuff for this week's Empire books that we didn't have.
Yeah, Empire, Captain America, a few
Savage
Empire
Avengers.
Savage Avengers, yeah.
But then again, there's other stuff like Captain Marvel was, already
completely unavailable.
Yeah, it was back order, not stocked this week. But when we did our second order, it was not filled yet. So it was in this gray area of like, maybe there's copies, maybe there's not. And currently there's not, but there may be, but we don't know. So it's stuff like that that makes adding subscriptions more difficult because you're not on, the regular release cycle that you normally have where there might be 3 or more weeks between issues. Instead, you're having stuff where it's like, no, there's a backlog of COVID stuff that's coming out very, very rapidly. And stuff like miniseries for events is always tricky because of how little warning we get when people want to add that stuff. We push very hard to get people to tell us ahead of time, but honestly, they don't even want it until the event starts. Like, unless it's a really blockbuster event, either something that is such a big idea that people are going to jump on and people are going to be excited about, like Avengers versus X-Men, or something that's a sequel event where there's already a built-in fan base, like Death Metal. If it's something like Empire, where it's brand new and people don't really have a good sense of what it's going to be about, we can't ever get people to lock in their orders until the book's actually out. We just can't. There's nothing we can do. And we kind of shot ourselves in the foot by saying, you know what, I'm not sticking my neck out on this. I don't want to get caught with copies. So we ordered very low. We were like club plus a few copies. Cool. Then 5 or 6 people in the first week of Empire's release went, cool, can you have me for everything Empire? We didn't order 5 or 6 extra copies for every Empire book because most of them had 2 or 3 people down for them.
If that.
Yeah. Like, we probably had more people add all Empire than we ordered copies of Empire Savage Avengers to start with.
Yeah. And it's not as if we were just worried about people not coming in because of the global pandemic. We looked at War of Realms. We looked at Absolute Maximum, whatever.
Carnage, yeah.
Absolute Carnage, and saw what we got stuck with.
Yeah.
David Harper did a really great piece analyzing all of the Marvel event books.
Yeah.
From... what started it? Not Civil War. Whatever was before Civil War. Up through War of the Realms. And like he ranked them by profitability, issues sold, takeaway variants, and reanalyze it.
House of M, I think, was before Civil War?
Yes, House of M, you're right.
Yeah.
And then he did a thing where it's like, all right, let's take away issue 1s and see who was actually... And it changes... So for the majority of the criteria, Siege was the lowest.
I believe it.
However, when you adjust for no number 1s, War of the Realms
is the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing dropped like a rock. It's crazy because the 6 issues of War of the Realms I actually enjoyed. I don't think it's Marvel's best event by far, but I thought it was pretty fun, and I like Russell Dauterman a lot. So seeing, that dude do 6 issues of comics, great. But as a story, it does aim really low, and it is pretty much just a Thor story. Like, it's not a real Marvel Universe sort of story. It's just a Thor story with a ton of guest stars. And they put out a whole bunch of miniseries that just did not connect with anybody. I mean, for us in our ordering for Empire, it's basically us ordering off of War of the Realms. And how much we got caught with War of the Realms books.
It's such a weird book, the way it's going and the way it's positioned, where Captain Marvel has a big role to play, and there's a lot happening in her book, which is part of it. Mm-hmm. But they give her a lot of time in Empire as well. Yeah. Captain America has his own miniseries, but by like Empire 2, they're like, oh no, he's off doing this. Yeah. And he's out of the book. Like, they're focusing on different things, and when you do that, it doesn't feel like it's the Marvel Universe as a whole. Mm-hmm. And that makes an event feel not like an event.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I mean, I read the first 2 issues of Empire, and I don't know that I'm going to continue with the rest. I thought it was okay. It's okay. Like, nothing about it was like, I gotta see how this story ends. Like, I don't really care.
I'm pretty sure, and I didn't. I read it somewhere else. I read the book, but I didn't pay attention. But it was a $4.99 book for 20 pages of art and story.
Oh, for issue 3?
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
there is usually. I mean, the floor for event comics at Marvel is $4.99.
There's sketch pages. There's 4 pages of Valerio Schiti sketches.
Yeah, no, $4.99 is the base price for an event comic at Marvel. Could be more. Frequently is more. $4.99 is the least you're going to pay for an event comic at Marvel.
I want to bring up something that was mentioned to us, and it was not mentioned negatively, but it is a thing I've been thinking about, and unfortunately it's a thing I've been thinking about. We had a good, close personal friend of mine, and a longtime challenger, someone I used to work with as well in a different life, messaged me to say that the last couple of Wednesdays he's been in, he doesn't see any joy on our faces.
Not even my face?
Especially not yours.
I feel like I'm getting lumped in with this. I feel like I have a tiny percentage, but a positive percentage more joy than
I read you the actual message, and it called you out as well.
You did, and I think that characterization is inaccurate. I think I have more joy than you do at the store.
People don't see it, though.
No, I guess they don't.
It doesn't matter if you have it.
I was wearing a mask.
Right? I think that's a big part of it, too.
I mean, maybe. It could be someone projecting.
But...
Was I not smiling with my eyes?
It's definitely not fun at work currently.
Well, this was something I was going to joke about when the podcast started. I was wondering if maybe we have, through the ups and downs of 2020, found the precise amount of days that you should work each week is maybe just 2. Because once we hit the 3rd day, that's when you start to get real hot as far as like how bad the day is and how much the minor inconveniences mount up. And then by 4, you're just completely hollowed out. I think but the weird thing is this person was talking about coming in on Wednesdays, and that's your 2nd day of the week.
Yeah.
So even by the start of the 2nd day of the week, they don't see any joy on your face. And let me tell you something. If you come in on Tuesday, Patrick's first day of the week, you're going to see less joy. Checking in the new books?
I don't understand how this is entirely on me, because when I first read this message to you, you were all, he's totally right. You were so busy. There's so much going on.
I was going to get to that part.
Okay.
I was going to get to that part.
I wasn't sure if you were just burying me or not.
No. What I will say in defense of our lack of joy is that early Wednesdays nowadays, because of the coronavirus pandemic, are structured very differently. We've actually seen more people on Wednesdays the last few weeks than we did the last year's worth of Wednesdays as far as the average goes. So we're definitely seeing more people on Wednesdays now through July than we were any other month. But the thing is, it's clustered a lot more in that we're not seeing like people come in on their lunch break and then scattered people come in through the afternoon as they're available, and then more people come in kind of at the end of the day as they get off work. No one's going into work, or at least not enough people are going into work to make a difference. So in general, like, we would maybe see like some people from like 11 to noon, a bunch more people from noon to 1, and then another rush from like 4:30 to 6:30. Well, now we just see everybody from 11 to 12:30. And then a few other groups, but by the time it hits 5:30, it's dead for the day. Like, that's it. People that we would normally see after work hours now come in at like 11:30. So,
and there's also an inordinate amount of customer requests for a new book day. Oh, can you get this from my list and add this to my list? So there's a stack of things that you need to do immediately because you're afraid those books are going to sell out and you might miss something on somebody. Yeah,
like the things that kind of work against us on early Wednesdays as far as having time to kind of be present for customers and really give them that sense of, you know, like energized salesmanship or whatever, like just the connecting with another human being of it all. More people are coming in early. We usually have like a rush of people. When we were, 6 months ago when we would open up at 11, we might not even see anyone until 11:15. Now, the second we open the door, there's like 6 people getting out of their cars ready to walk inside for hot books or for their comics for the week. And then you've got, more people coming in after that. So that keeps us occupied. We've got, like Patrick said, a lot more kind of last minute requests. Add this book for me. Pull this for me. Can you get me this variant cover for this book?
Which we go so far out of our way to make sure that doesn't happen.
Always happens.
And when it does happen, while it makes us immediately angry, we still don't want that person to not get their book.
Yeah, so we still rush to do it.
Like, I don't want to have to do it, but...
Yeah. The other thing is that on a weekly basis now, we're getting people asking us to ship their books out because they are not able or willing to come to the store. And so that means that, Wednesday morning, not only are we ringing other people up, but we're also ringing up mail order product and packing mail order product and sending out invoices for mail order product because we want to make sure that those books get shipped out as fast as possible. And we want to get the whole thing done and packed and ready to go before the mail carrier shows up for the day. Otherwise, that person's books don't go out till Thursday, maybe. So all of this stuff is kind of happening very quickly Wednesday mornings now. It's not paced out through the day where we can have time to talk to customers and do all this other stuff. It's a thing where we are getting slammed right away. And then at 3 o'clock, it's like, where did everybody go? So that's kind of what's happening now. So if you're not seeing joy on our face early Wednesdays, it's because our whole day has been structured differently and we are doing twice as much work in half as much of the day. So that's why we don't seem as joyful.
I want to point out that I greatly appreciated getting that message, and it wasn't a, hey, you guys aren't happy. It was a,
I would like you to be happy.
and I love what you do. The store means so much.
Yeah.
You're the 2 best retailers I've ever dealt with. Like, it was super positive, and just a really good message.
Yeah.
But I still went like, aw.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from my perspective, I wouldn't say I'm unhappy at the store right now. I mean, there's definitely stresses that we're dealing with above and beyond just the normal, like, you know, selling people comic books thing. We still have a lease in River North that we are not out of yet, despite completely being out of that store. So that's stressful. There's a pandemic going on, so
Still?
that makes a lot of the customer interaction stuff, you know, as safe as we try to be with it, it still makes it uncomfortable. I mean, if I didn't have to earn a living, I'd probably just stay home. I don't love the idea of, you know, being in a store 6 to 8 hours a day, interacting with strangers. I wear masks and they wear masks, but it's not completely safe. It's not
No.
0% unsafe. So that's a thing that's kind of always on my mind. So, I mean, there's definitely variables, and I don't want to project unhappiness. That's not in the store. On the podcast, I don't care. But in the store,
That's very true.
I don't want people to think I'm unhappy selling them comic books. I definitely don't want that. I don't know what I can do differently. Again, some of the stuff on Wednesday is just, I mean, I'm running around. I'm stressed out because I'm trying to do 3 things at once. Like, I can't make a 4th thing also look happy, you know?
Sure.
I'm already full up at 3 things.
And I do think some of it's the masks. And
Maybe.
I think that, and this customer has also had some issues with things they've ordered. And they apologize saying, hey, I'm sorry that my orders are so complicated. None of those are your fault.
No, it's all Diamond stuff.
Yeah.
We're trying, man. We're trying.
And the reason that there's so many things that are going wrong for his orders is because he's ordering a lot of extra things, which is great.
Right. Yeah, I mean, certainly, like, we're seeing some weird stuff with Pullbox where people are adding a bunch of interesting things, but it's like, I don't know when those are going to come in. Like, you know, I think everything's going to be fine, but we're going to find out as it goes on.
Yeah.
Pullbox is going well. I really like that. I'm glad we're doing it. I'm glad it's saving us some time.
You know, I have yet to remember to
That's fine.
look at it. Although, like, I looked at it last Friday and thought, like, I don't know what I'm... Like, today,
Sure.
never touched a thing.
Sure. The one thing I will mention, and it's probably an email I'm going to send out to every Pullbox user, is that I do want to make sure that people understand the difference between subscriptions and pre-orders. They're not necessarily 2 different things. They're frequently a subset of one thing. Specifically, what we've been seeing is people adding subscriptions through the current catalog for, say, issue 3 of a series that's in the current catalog. And they think they're done. Problem is, issues 1 and 2 haven't come out yet, but they've started their subscription with the current catalog. What Pullbox does when you're ordering a subscription for something that has previously solicited issues that have not shipped yet, it will give you a notification, a little warning before you finalize your subscription that says, hey, you're ordering this book, you're creating a subscription for it, starting with issue 3. Issues 1 and 2 haven't come out yet. Would you like to pre-order issues 1 and 2 as well? And you have to say yes to that. You have to opt into that. It will not, by default, start pulling issues for you previous to the current catalog, no matter if they've come out or not. You have to request that. Now, again, the good thing is Pullbox will warn you when that's the case, but you have to be aware that it's warning you, and you have to check those boxes. We've definitely had a few people add stuff, and I've tried to catch it, but there's probably 1 or 2 things that I did not notice, and those people will be very surprised when they start missing issues because they have a subscription. Yes, but you didn't do it right. The other thing is that when people see certain books, they'll look at the item and go, oh, it looks like there's a duplicate here. It says I've got a subscription for it and a pre-order for it. You have a subscription for the series generates a pre-order for that issue. So if you look at something like Avengers number 35 and you're subscribed to Avengers, it's going to say you're subscribed to it and you've pre-ordered it. Yes, because you've subscribed to Avengers as a series, and in turn that subscription has generated a pre-order for issue 35.
Okay, so that's not a double up.
Yeah, you can pre-order stuff that you have not subscribed to for sure, but a subscription will generate a pre-order for the corresponding comic when it's in the catalog. Basically, when the catalog posts, when it becomes available for subscribers, Pullbox will look at your list of subscriptions and then say, okay, which of these titles is in the current catalog, and then generate pre-orders based off of that. So when you look at the bottom left-hand corner of Pullbox, there's going to be a section that says pre-orders. That's specifically stuff from the current catalog that Diamond has created orders for you based on your subscriptions. We've had people in the first month think, oh, well, I already have a subscription to that book. I don't need a pre-order. Let me delete that. Do not do that, because what you've basically told Diamond is that you would like to skip all of your subscriptions for that month. That is a bad thing.
So, to recap, a special order isn't necessarily a subscription, but a subscription is a special order. Pre-order, sorry. Pre-order.
Yeah, the terminology is a little tricky.
Especially since we've been using our own terminology for years, and I think it's partly our fault for when someone says, oh, can you add me an Amazing Spider-Man? Like, yeah, as of now you're subscribed, not with the new catalog kind of thing.
Because
it's because we're so dedicated and so good at what we do.
That might be it. We're not as strict on the catalog deadlines as Pullbox is. Pullbox is kind of working from a, let's make it as strict as possible, and then stores can be more lenient if they want, rather than let's be lenient and stores can be more strict if they want. So what ends up happening is that there's a lot of things that we don't have a problem with at all. If someone, adds it from the current catalog and the catalog's on 3, but 1 and 2 haven't come out yet, we're going to do everything we can to get them 1 and 2. We're not just going to say, I'm sorry, that catalog closed. You have to start with 3. You don't. Why would you want to do that?
Right.
Especially if in a lot of cases the orders haven't finalized for some of those books, or we'll have extra copies anyway. I'm not going to not pull a book for someone that's sitting on the rack if a subscriber wants it. But yeah, the important thing to remember is a subscription is really a thing that's telling the catalog what to order. So if it's from a previous catalog, it's not going to check. You have to tell it, yes, make sure I get these as well. Hopefully that'll be more clear to people as time goes on. It's really only a problem if you're adding a subscription after issues have already been solicited. If you're adding a subscription with a number 1 that's in the catalog, it's going to start with number 1, no problem.
What about when a subscriber who is using Pullbox emails and says, hey, can I get this book? Shouldn't we just automatically say, yeah, order it through Pullbox? Isn't it better that they do everything through Pullbox to make sure that...
One of the first things we told people when we sent them the invitation to Pullbox was, if you start using Pullbox, it's best to use Pullbox all the time. The more central you make it, the better it's going to work for you. And I've told some people this when they've come into the store, where it's like, if it's too much for you, yes, we can switch you back. It's not a big deal. But if you're going to be using Pullbox, if you come into the store and say, hey, add me for this, it's kind of not going to look right when your Pullbox is going. It's not as big a deal right now because most people haven't caught up to the initial catalog they've ordered through Pullbox, which is September. So things like release dates aren't going to be as much of a big deal, but putting that stuff in through Pullbox is going to make it populate better for you. It's going to give you a better idea of what's coming in, what you have on hold, etc. I'm not going to tell people they have to do it that way, but somebody, I think this morning, had done should I order it through Pullbox or should you just do it? And I went, either or, but it's probably better if you do it through Pullbox. Like, if someone is requesting I do it instead of them, of course I'm going to honor that. But if there's a choice, I would suggest they use Pullbox, unless they would rather not use Pullbox at all.
I mean, the irony of that is it's still us adding it to your list.
Yeah, but not really. I mean, it is, but it's less work for sure. But it's the reason I'm suggesting they do it is not because I don't want to do the work. It's because it will make the experience better for them if they enter it themselves.
Teach a man to use Pullbox. Wait, and then he fishes for a lifetime?
Pull a man's comics.
What? That doesn't make any sense to me.
So yeah, I'm honestly we're not done with stuff like fixing Shopify, but Shopify and Pullbox being operational now makes me not significantly less stressed, but recognizably less stressed. Like, that's stuff that we had wanted for a while and have been working on for a while, and now people can just use it. People can just order stuff from our Shopify store, and we don't have to adjust the inventories later.
They can do it.
They can just do it. Comics will be up eventually. I gotta do an inventory on the comics before we do that, and holy God, I have no idea how many hours it's going to take. Ballpark, I'm thinking 7 or 8 hours. It's going to take forever to inventory every comic in the store.
Well, that's okay. We've got people we can call for special projects.
Yeah, wait. I was thinking about doing it next week, but I don't know. I want to get it done sooner rather than later because I want to get that stuff available for people to buy because I want people to buy it. But, I mean, man, literally once I get started, it's there's just hours and hours of work ahead of me. I genuinely don't know if I can do it in one night. It might have to be a thing where I do 75% of it in a night, and then I do 25% the next morning, because it's just thinking about scanning every single book in the store is okay, the comics wall, I mean, Jesus, that's 300 something stacks of comics. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, the New This Week wall. Well, it's not a lot of stuff, but it's still a bunch of stacks of comics. Okay, everything in the hold boxes and the club boxes. Oh my god, that's a lot of stuff, and they all have to be, like, taken out, scanned, put right back where they came from. So it's not even, like, quickly going through a stack of stuff, because you've got to go to every single subscriber spot. Okay, then everything in the back rooms. Oh my god, that's 6 full boxes of restock and 5 or 6 boxes of backstock. Okay, everything in sidekicks. Oh my god, that's stacks and stacks of kids comics. Okay, everything on the spinner rack and all of the dollar comics. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's just more stuff all the time. And there's only so much I can have people help me with because we've got one scanner and one computer that can do the inventory.
Doubt.
So while I can have people bring stuff from the comics wall to me, which helps a lot, once you're into things where it's like in boxes, there's no way two people can do that. It's just, you're taking a stack out, you're scanning it, you're putting it back. There's no, 2 more hands are not going to help.
When you're doing this, I'll be right there with you.
Aw,
emotionally.
thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that. So I don't know when I'm going to do it.
From wherever I am, I'll be thinking about you.
Sometime in early August, probably. Maybe next week, maybe not next week. I don't know. I really don't want to do it. Like, graphic novels have this thing where I could just do, like, the sci-fi fantasy graphic novels. And then the next week I could just do the manga. So I can break it into smaller pieces and do it over a longer time.
We had someone come in today with their local book. And it is 8.5 by 11.
Okay.
And it was in a shrink wrap bundle of 25.
Okay.
And they had downloaded the form. They talked to someone on the phone previous.
Sure.
They downloaded the form and filled it out and brought it in. So he puts the bundle up on the counter and is thinking for a while. He's like, I'm not sure. And I don't know what he's trying to think about. So I can't guide him. And he finally said, I don't know what genre you'd call this. And I said, oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
It's a single issue comic. It doesn't, like, we only break down our graphic novels and things. And I had to say, and by the way, we're not taking 25.
Yeah.
Let me just, here's a knife. I'm going to tear this open. We'll take 5.
Unless this is a new Daniel Warren Johnson fan comic.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Speaking of that,
Oh, okay.
James Tynan self-published his first book
Okay.
this week.
Yeah.
Razor Blades.
Okay.
And it was a limited print run of 500.
Uh-huh.
And he was selling it's a horror anthology, so he's got some stories in it, but not a lot. And because of how limited it was and whatever reasoning, it was $20 a copy.
Oof.
And he was offering it to retailers for $10 a copy. It sold out immediately.
I'm sure it did.
I mean,
What if Punchline's in it?
in seconds. And he's like, oh, yeah,
Maybe I should have
sorry.
had more than 500.
Never to be reprinted.
Not to get off on a tangent, but
Yeah.
since I mentioned Punchline, one
Sure.
of my favorite things recently was I was on Cover Price. I think.
Yeah.
One of those investment speculator website things. And it was a book that I was aware that was hot because we'd had a bunch of people asking for it over just a couple day span. And it was after it had come out like 3 months earlier.
Yeah.
Strange Academy #1 is a hot book.
Because there's so many new characters in
And
it.
that's what I found so funny and so amazing was that they were just like, it's just a bonanza of first appearances. And they named off the characters that first appeared in it because it's like all the kids that showed up. And it's like, are you serious? People are thinking all of these characters are like, and some of it was even the review was like, or the coverage of it was very like, you know, with this many characters, it's a good investment because if one of them, and it's like, none of them are going to break out.
It's like
None of them are gonna be-
Wolverine and the X-Men #1. How many new characters were in that?
Yeah, like, you can have 15 new characters. They're just 15 kids that go to some magic school. Like, it's not to be a broken record, but the thing that drives me crazy about this is even if, like, this character from the stupid Doctor Strange magic school that's probably going to be in a comic that doesn't last 15 issues shows up in a movie, they're going to be in the background, and it's not like anyone's going to look in the background and go, I got to get the first appearance of that character. So it's like, why go to the trouble of buying Strange Academy #1 as an investment when it's full of characters that don't matter, that are just characters in a comic book that don't have a fan base and never will?
I mean, if you want to go further back,
Jesus,
it's characters in a comic book, none of it matters.
Jesus Christ! Reading that little coverage of like Strange Academy #1 is like the book to get because of all the first appearances. What? First appearance of who?
There's first appearances in most likely every single comic.
It's so dumb. It's so dumb. I was complaining about this too before we started recording, and it's, oh my god, it's every time I think the investment scene can't get any dumber, it finds a way to get so much dumber. Where it's all first appearances, but it's just not tied to any logic whatsoever beyond first appearances. Like, it's become this weird self-fulfilling thing where it's not even what if they become a hot character, what if they're in a movie. It's just first appearances. And as always, the comic companies have figured it out, and they're going to take advantage of it. Liar, Liar's coming up in 761 for Wonder Woman. Liar, Liar, Patrick.
A retailer told this tragic story of a belligerent customer came in with Thor number 5, complaining to the person that he bought this because of all the hype around. What is the character? Black Winter?
Sure.
What is the?
I think so.
And
I don't take that book anymore.
That character isn't in this book, and he just wants to return it. He wants his money back, and the person who was working the register is like their gaming expert. So he takes Thor number 5. And he calls the owner. He's like, hey, what do I do? He's like, God, yeah, absolutely. If he wants to give us that book back, and and just for a cover price, we'll do it in a heartbeat. So he did, and he got it back. And when the punchline of the story, no pun intended, is it was the Mike Del Mundo Thor number 5.
Oh, the reprint?
The guy.
No, was it a reprint?
No, the previous version.
The previous Thor.
Yeah, the Jason Aaron Mike Del Mundo Thor.
So the guy bought the Jason Aaron Thor.
No,
number 5.
No. The guy bought the right one, waited till there was a employee who didn't know any better.
Oh my god!
And
got
his $3.99 back.
Oh, this is like those guys who are like, oh, I need to return this Marvel Legend figure, Target.
Yeah.
But what they've done is they just bought a new figure and slapped an old one in they don't want anymore.
Yep.
Oh man.
It was exactly that kind of thing.
Oh my god. I can't believe someone did that to a comic shop. Yep. What a nightmare. Oh man, that's terrible. I would have never thought to do that. God.
No. We're lucky in that regard that we don't have, like, the people, for the most part, that shop with us want to read comics.
That we do. I've honestly, one of the things that, and this is going back to the person who'd said, I don't see joy in you on Wednesdays. So many of the people that come in off the street that are not subscribers Wednesday morning are doing it because they are in for the hot books. There is somebody who comes up to the counter, usually the second or third person every single week, and it's just stacks of 2 copies of different books. And it's all the hot books. It's whatever we're low on. It's whatever is like the speculator book for the week. And it's reaching a point where I'm genuinely considering, like, talking to you, Patrick, about lowering our limit to 1 copy for every book. I'm just so tired of it. I'm so tired of having to see, like, stuff that we have maybe 6 copies on the rack go out the door to the first 3 people in.
Yeah.
And it's people who are just going to sell them online. I'm so sick of it, especially when there's so many books now that we can't get back in. Like, if we're out of a DC book,
we are out of it, period.
Consider it gone. We can't seem to get restock of anything. Hot book or cold book, it doesn't matter. What we get in for DC books is basically it now.
DC says that their stock is in the process of being transferred to the new distributors, but that was excess Diamond stock that wouldn't count any of these new books.
Yeah, Diamond hasn't gotten anything in for July.
Yeah.
The speculator stuff is...
We did get...
I want single issue comics to go away so bad.
3 or 4 issues of one DC book restocked this week and 2 copies of another.
Yeah. There was like a Batman 89 third print that Lunar still had, but like the stuff that I needed from this week and last week when I went to reorder from them.
Like Jimmy Olsen 12?
It's stuff for special
Books
orders,
Magic,
stuff we'd sold out of, stuff we were low on. The only thing I was able to get confirmed was extra copies of Wonder Woman 759. And even that, probably not till next week or the week after. Week after, I guess.
Well, definitely not this week.
Yeah. So it's 2 weeks then we'd have to wait for the restock on that from when it came out. Everything else, either from the current week, which includes Wonder Woman 759, and then the week prior, it was just that one book. That was all I could get.
I believe it. I 100% believe it.
So dumb.
Walking the shelves today, I just happened to notice, it's like, you know what? Single issue comics are doing great for very specific issues, for very specific titles. The rest of it, it's like, God, this is all just going to sit here forever.
Yep.
And we have a massive stack of this week's Legion on the shelf.
Yeah, we do.
What happened? Ryan Sook didn't draw that issue. That's what happened.
Well, he drew the first page.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
He drew the recap page.
The full face of Wildfire, I think?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the big thing is issue 6 was the first appearance of Gold Lantern, asterisk. But, so it seems like a ton of people who were buying 6 didn't want to buy 7, but it's like we're selling lower than 5?
Yeah.
Which is weird, and I wonder if that's a thing where, and this is what I've always been afraid of, is the people who bought 5 couldn't buy 6 because speculators snapped it up in a day, and now they're not going to buy 7. And the speculators have zero interest in 7.
Yeah.
I mean, unless there's more first appearances. What if there's a first appearance of another 6 or 7 Legionnaires?
Without most recent sell-through statistics to look at when I'm doing the lunar orders, the FOCs, I've just been like, I guess I'll add a few more copies of this book.
We don't have sell-through data for that stuff?
Maybe I don't know exactly where to find it.
Okay. We should. I mean, we should have sell-through data for all that stuff.
But, I mean, is it title by title or issue by issue?
Issue by issue.
I don't like that.
Well, I mean, no. I mean, you would go to the title and it would show you the issues.
Okay.
So you just go to, like, Wonder Woman and it would say, okay, here's what you sold for $7.59 and $7.58, $7.57. All the stuff that you would normally get at the bottom of, like, the FOC or initial order screen, you can get that through another field.
Okay. I need to find where that field is because when you go through the item dashboard, it's not as helpful.
Oh, God, no. I mean, there is a way you can do it on the item dashboard, but I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either, which is why I'm not.
I mean, I can show you. There's a field that we have closed on item dashboard by default, but there's a whole separate thing you can go to.
Okay.
I will show you.
Well,
later.
the point is, I've just been arbitrarily thinking maybe we need more of this.
Sure.
Legion is not one of those books.
No.
There are some books that's like, no, I don't think we need to add this any more to this title.
Yeah.
I think, and if we sell out of John Constantine Hellblazer, fine.
Yeah, and I mean, I've complained a lot about stuff we've sold out of or things that we're running out of too fast because of speculators. But end of the day, like I'd rather sell out of stuff than get stuck with stuff. And if that means it happens in one day instead of 7, I mean, it's not ideal, but I will take that over having it for the rest of my life.
I just don't want it in the first hour.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I mean, I don't like selling out of stuff first day, period. And there's been a bunch of weeks recently where we go to the back and it's like, oh, by like 5 o'clock, we're out of like 8 books. Like, we never want to be that low on stock. But unfortunately, like, there's a bunch of things where there's just no predicting it. Because it's all of a sudden like, oh, this issue becomes hot because of bullshit reasons. And that's the most frustrating element of all of this stupid first appearance stuff is like, I mean, now you've got DC saying Ruin first appears in the Dreaming Waking Hours #1, or Liar Liar first appears in this Wonder Woman issue, or Clown Hunter or Joker Hunter first appears in this issue of Batman. So they're getting ahead of it in a way where it's like, well, if you're a store that wants to bet hard on that stuff, at least you can have the information necessary to order accurately. I don't know if that's going to create a situation where, because there's excess stock, no speculator is going to want it. But at least there is information there. But too often it's just a thing where, like, some YouTuber gets a copy on Monday, says this comic has this character in it that they didn't tell you, and it's going to be hot. And then, you know, a bunch of speculators get activated, and then suddenly Wednesday morning it's like, now I'm out of it.
I like how they're just sleeper agents who
they really are
going through their day. They have a normal job. They're going to the office.
It gets downloaded directly to their brains.
They get a message on their phone. It's like, I have to go get this first appearance of Gold Lantern.
That's what it feels like. When you get a phone call from someone who genuinely doesn't know that the name of the book is Marvel Action Avengers, they just know that the yellow Hulk is in it and it's hot. It feels exactly like that. Like, it got downloaded to their brain. They have no context for anything they're asking for. It feels like the Manchurian Candidate, but for comic books. Like, someone said a code phrase and they just called up and went, do you have Marvel Avengers, the Hulk, he's yellow, aim? And you're just like, no, we're already out of it. Like, it's so insane.
Certainly isn't super fun.
I don't love it. That's why I complain about it every week on Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast.
Maybe it'll change. It won't, though. It's only going to get worse.
Literally, my only hope for this going away.
Is the cessation of single issue publishing?
Yeah, is if single issue comics go away as a result of the coronavirus. Like, that's the only hope I have, and the only way 2020 could turn around for me is if single issue comics stop being produced and it wipes out the speculator market. Like, that's my only hope, because again, it's like the stock market. It's so untethered from reality that nothing can shut it down. All of the things that should be acting as mechanisms that keep it from getting out of hand or burst the bubble don't work. So my only hope is to kill it at the source. Stop making single issue comics. Please. Publishers.
What
Stop
if
making single
you
issue comics.
instead, Dow, shut down YouTube?
It wouldn't matter. They'd get it some other way. Like, that's the thing. It's like Hydra. You cut off one head, two more take its place. Like, they're as bad as Hydra.
I had someone from DC describe those torrent sites as whack-a-mole.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's why a lot of companies don't bother doing like takedown notices, because you'd spend all your energy and all your legal team potentially sending takedown notices for someone else to just put it up someplace else.
Yeah. So there was a guy in the store today who
That's good to hear.
Was just this one person looking around. He's like, "Hey, I haven't been here before. Like, what is that? What is like, what's on sale? Like, it's all for sale, but like, do you have any sales going on?" I'm like, nope, everything's cover price. Okay. A little bit later, if I get a bunch of stuff, can I get a discount? No, man, sorry. Oh no, that's fine. Just thought I'd ask. So he's going to get rung up, and it's like $242, and his card's declined. And so he calls the bank, and at this point, I was on the sales floor with a different customer, but I could hear him talking to his bank, and I had assumed he was from out of town, and it was like a fraud thing, like, oh, someone's trying to spend this much money, but I hear him say, like, no, I approved it. Side note, one of the funniest parts was he was on speakerphone at one point, and it's like, hey, what is your passphrase that you use to verify your identity? And it could be like your favorite hobby, and he like pulls the phone in real close and goes, comics. So anyway, he has to say his name multiple times.
Sure.
And I'm like, I know that name. Why do I know that name? So I go behind the counter, I go to my email, and I search his name in my email. No emails from him. Nothing like that. Finally goes through, and he had a stack of books and his wallet on top of them, and we had to like close out his transaction, move everything back, and he's over there. I'm like, hey man, I'm just putting your wallet back over here with your stuff. So anyway, as I'm ringing him up for the final time, I said, your name is super familiar to me. Do I know you? Have you been here before? Have we met? And he looks at me and he goes, Pat? Yeah. And he like takes his mask down real quick. Spoiler alert, it didn't really help me at all. He's like, it's like, and he gives me his name, which I knew his name because he said so many times. So I went with oh man, how's it going? It turns out he was a club member downtown.
Okay.
Way back in the day.
He's
out in like Hoffman Estates now.
Okay.
He's like, I wondered what happened to you. I had no idea this is your place. How long you been here? That kind of stuff. And then I'm like, yeah, it's me and Dow. He's like, who? I'm like, oh right, you said down. Like he said, oh, when you were the other place, I could at that point I didn't know if it was Downers Grove or wherever.
Right.
But then it's like, oh man, old home week kind of.
Yeah.
Holy cow, it was definitely it. And at the same time. There are a few people who have a discount programmed into the system, and this guy asked for a discount, and I said no. Well, then there was a kid who was getting rung up, and I rung them up under their dad's account, who happens to be somebody whom I have conducted business with on a outside of the comic store. But because of that professional relationship, they get a discount because I get a discount from his business.
Right.
So I made a joke like, "Oh, hey, you automatically get your dad's discount." I mean, not that you deserve it or whatever. And I'm like, "Oh, I just said that's in full view of that other guy."
Well, I mean, they were the son of Colonel Sanders.
Well, it's true. And
oops, I spoiled it. I'm sorry.
I am 4 herbs away
Curse those herbs
from knowing all of them.
They're so delicious.
Man, I can do it. But what you can do is keep listening to this very podcast as you have been doing, or you can support us on patreon.com if you find any value in your listening experience. We have levels from $1 a month, which turns into a quarter per episode, 25 cents per episode, if you'd like to pledge at that. And there's, of course, you can put whatever kind of money you want. And
there's probably a limit.
I mean,
I don't know what Patreon kicks back.
I think $1 is the lowest you could support.
Right, but I don't know what the upper limit is.
Let's find out. In the meantime, we would like to thank all of our patrons who do support us at the level in which we say their names and thank them. So that includes Sean Bowers. Oh, this is where you check out?
Generally, my mom, Diane Bush.
Yeah,
Thanks,
there
Mom.
you go. I was at least gonna let you do that one.
She was reading rereading the March graphic novel series this weekend.
Oh, nice.
I guess not weekend, it's Friday. But the last few days because of Representative John Lewis passed away.
And what are we unable to get right now from distributors?
Volumes 1 and 2 of March.
Hey, look at that.
A lot of people wanted to read that graphic novel series this past week.
Yeah. Including some employees.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Arun Singh from Boom Studios.
Thank you, Chris Burton.
Who is a club member. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Ryan Hecht.
Thank you, Patrick's relative, Bridget Neville.
Or BK Neville. That's how she...
is that how it is now?
That's how she did for her t-shirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Hawaii's own Markusan Naso. I guess Hawaii's current Markusan Naso, who has a brand new book. He and Jason Mirror, they did Voracious together. They have a brand new book called By the Horns, coming from Source Point Press, about a unicorn hunter.
Thank you, Mark Hammond.
Thank you, club member Christina McChrystal.
Thank you, Jacob Sorelli.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. Thank you, Robert Lane.
Thank you, Morgan Kaiju Perry.
Also from Moon Studios. Thank you, my brother George.
Thank you, Artie White.
Thank you, Michael Romanenko.
Thank you, the entire Springham family, except for the one I will not thank. Absolutely will not.
They know who it is.
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to dignify this podcast with their name.
Thank you, Jose Villagomez.
Thank you, Thomas Nagovin.
Thank you, brand new father Mitchell Davies.
Thank you, Mike Lee.
Thank you, Ryan Alcock.
Thank you, Matt Armstrong.
Thank you, Robert Burns, who has been texting multiple times as we're recording to talk about the fancy edition of Joe Jackson's Body and Soul CD he got in that. What is that new CD format? Like,
there's a new CD format?
Yeah, it's like, not SDCC, but it's 4 initials and you have to have a special player, but apparently it's like...
SACD?
Maybe.
I mean, I don't think it's new.
Okay.
I mean, it's recent in that it probably came out like 15 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I mean, unless there's a newer one that I'm not familiar with.
I don't know.
Thank you, the one and only Chris.
Thank you, Ben-Hur, Dal's good Kamen Rider fan.
Ben Caligulus.
Friend.
Thank you, Drew Triner.
Thanks, Chris Revicant.
Thanks, Nick Baldwin.
Thanks, Andrew Elia.
Thank you, Heidi D.
And thank you, Josh Crowley.
Thanks, Ted Eggleston.
And thank you, Brent Helt.
Thanks, everybody.
And thank you for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.